All right, my friends, welcome back to another episode of Boozin on a Budget right here on Titan TV. So we're just about a week away from the big game, the Super Bowl. So I thought I would start tonight's show by talking about some drinks that I would recommend for your Super Bowl party. We want stuff that won't break the bank, stuff that we can feel comfortable sharing with our friends, and stuff that's going to pair well with all that awesome Super Bowl junk food. Now, I'd say for the standard fare for Super Bowl parties, probably you think beer, right? So let's start with beer. Given that we are going to be eating a lot of food and stuff, and we want something that's going to pair well with that, I would say stick to your lagers or your lighter ales, or what is referred to as a session beer. What is a session beer? A lot of times you'll see it right on the can. This is session beer. A session beer just means that you're going to drink more than one of these beers, probably going to drink more than one on Super Bowl Sunday, and that you're going to have a session of drinking for those beers. So look for maybe something down at your store that says a session beer. If you haven't tried a session beer, try some of those. Summertime is a good time for session beers as we're out and about and we're going to have a little bit more than one. Another thing, I could name off some lagers and ales specifically. I'll let you figure that out. Blondes, I think blonde beer, another kind of lighter beer, has a little bit more flavor if you want just a little bit more than just a standard lager. Get you a blonde beer, that is. So the reason we want lighter beers, a lager or maybe a blonde, is that, I mean, drink what you want really. If you want to go for the hoppiest IPA, double IPA, imperial IPA, that's great. But again, given that the game is over the course of several hours or over the course of the afternoon with some great food, we don't want to wear our palate out with our beer, right? We don't want to just have an IPA bomb that we're washing back that's just going to take over any of the flavors of our chips and dips and some of that other stuff. So that's why I'd recommend something a little lighter. Moving right along to wine. For white wine, I'm going to make a recommendation that not too many people think about pairing this with food, but bubbly wine. Champagne or other bubblies from California or other areas. Cremant, which is bubbly wine from right outside of the Champagne region. Really, any bubbly wine that's not from the Champagne region in France is called Cremant. Those, you're going to find those for a little bit less on the price. Cava from Spain, another one that you can get at some really killer prices and some really great cava. These are bubbly wines, and believe it or not, bubbly wines go really well with food. It's not the first wine you think of, but that bubbly effervescence really does go well with a lot of foods. Generally, your bubbly wines are crisp and fruity, and they're going to do a really good job at cleansing your palate. They do an especially good job at kind of getting in there and breaking up fatty foods or spicy foods without overcoming them on your palate. So if you're looking for something different to pair with all of your awesome Super Bowl food and you want a white wine, I would recommend going for a bubbly wine. I'm going to recommend for red wine a Zinfandel. Happen to have a Zinfandel that we're going to look at tonight. Zinfandel is a very approachable, low tannin red wine. It's fruit forward. It's going to be a crowd pleaser for a lot of them. And Zinfandel, man, I tell you what, Zinfandel goes really good with anything with barbecue sauce. So your barbecue wings, your barbecue ribs, anything that's coming from the barbecue with that barbecue sauce, Zinfandel goes really well with that. Wings, probably really standard fare at Super Bowl parties. The other really standard fare, pizza. Zinfandel goes incredibly well with a red sauce or even a white sauce pizza, but that hearty, nice, kind of cheesy, fatty, lovely, heavily topped pizzas, your Zinfandel is going to help wash some of that off your palate with nice fruit forward and be a really lovely wine to pair with all those junk foods on game day. Whiskey! I like to sip my whiskey straight, but I would recommend if you would like to make it to the end of the game and remember who won, I would suggest maybe not sipping whiskey straight all afternoon. I'm going to recommend that you take your whiskey and you mix it up into a highball. So a highball is a whiskey drink mixed in a taller glass. So that's your whiskey and Coke, your bourbon and Coke, your 7-Up, your ginger ale. That's going to be good because we're going to be able to sip those drinks over the course of the afternoon, a session again, if you will. And also that added soda, you can even use diet soda if you like, but that soda is going to help wash down some of that food that we're noshing on, that crunchy chips, the dips, the fatty stuff. That soda is going to help cleanse our palate, give us a nice little pairing there. And again, we'll hopefully make it consciously to the end of the game. So grab yourself a highball. I love whiskey and ginger myself. So start there if you're looking for that. Highball is becoming pretty popular again. If you haven't sipped on a highball, get you a highball. Let's jump in here again. I want to talk about it's a little more, we're getting scientific on tonight's episode. We're going to do two scientific type things. The first one I want to talk about is this little bad boy. It's called a Cory. This is what is marketed as a wine preservation system. This thing is really cool. They're not cheap. This is about $250. You fill this with an argon capsule. Capsule goes right in here in the bottle. Stay with me here. You have to buy these. You buy the Cory system itself. They do sell you these argon capsules. They're proprietary to the Cory system. They do get you for a little bit more money when you're buying the capsules. But you're going to see why this is going to be really cool and worth it. So you have an argon capsule. Kind of looks like a Whippet. Remember Whippets? I don't. Yeah, I definitely didn't ever do any Whippets. It's an argon gas capsule. What's important about that is argon gas is a non-reactive gas. You're going to see here in just a minute why that's important. But this argon gas capsule goes right in the bottom here. Then this is a medical grade needle, a hollow needle right here. This device was designed by somebody who was going to MIT to build medical devices, and then he came up with this idea to build a wine device, and he said, hell with medical devices, let's build a wine device. Enter the Cory. So I've got my aforementioned Zinfandel here. Allow me just to say Bogle, a very value-forward wine brand, wine house, Bogle, that this stuff is really good for the price. I paid $11 for this bottle today, but because I got it at the grocery store. But I have seen Bogle at Total Wine and some other shops for literally like $7.99. $7.99 for the quality that you're getting. I love the Bogle Zinfandel. Also love the Cabernet. Really good value wine here. Here's another. If you don't want to take your wine opener and cut around the label, you can just pull them off like that. The Cory. You take this bad boy. One caveat here, my friends, you have to use it with a natural cork. It has to be a real cork. There are synthetic corks in some of your wine. You want to use this with a natural cork because this natural cork, you'll see. So you're going to take this Cory. You open it up and set it right on top of your bottle of wine just like that, and it clamps on there. Then we're going to take and we're going to push this medical grade needle down into the cork. Now check this out. We're going to charge this bottle with that argon gas. And looky there. Does pour relatively slowly. Now we've just extracted wine out of this bottle. Here's where the magic happens. Pull this back up, pull that medical grade needle up. Pop your device off. The cork never left the bottle. I mean, it's like magic, right? This is crazy. When I found this device, I'm like, you'd be fucking kidding me. Check this out, man. And that's why it's important to have a natural cork, because the cork is going to reseal itself around that needle hole. Synthetic cork won't reseal itself. Let's see if it's watertight. Absolutely watertight. Now, back to the argon gas. The argon gas has two jobs. It charges into the bottle so that it has some pressure for that wine to come out of the spout. But even more importantly is it covers this wine now. No oxygen has touched it because we didn't open the cork. Argon gas, a non-reactive gas, literally acts like a layer of saran wrap on top of our wine. So we didn't expose the wine to any oxygen. This wine now, if I just wanted a little taste one night, maybe only a glass or two, now I just put this back in my wine fridge and it's good to go. It will keep for years, they say. The reason I believe that this works and that no oxygen comes into contact with it and that it isn't just a gimmick or a marketing ploy, there are some great restaurants using this Cory device as part of their wine program. So restaurants with high-end wines are Cory these high-end wines, so they don't have to open their bottles of high-end wine every time somebody wants just a glass. And you can bet if these high-end restaurants with very, very expensive high-end wine are trusting this to keep their wine stable with that layer of argon gas, then that's something that I can believe in. So check this out. If you're a wine nerd, man, us wine nerds love this kind of shit, right? So it preserves it. It's much better. They have those things where they pump, you can put the cap on it, pump the oxygen out. Those work fairly well. I've seen some other preservation systems, but this thing works great. Maybe you bought 20 bottles of wine and you just want to taste through them without opening them. Grab you the Cory. Because like I said, I'm going to take this and put it right back in my wine fridge, open it up at a later date. Maybe I'll Cory another glass at a later date. Maybe I'll open up the whole thing. Incredibly cool gadget here. Welcome back, my friends, and we're going to jump right into my next segment, binge thinking. So I started hearing about this several months ago where they're saying, you are pouring your beer wrong. I said, don't you tell me how to pour my beer. And they showed that they were taking this beer, pouring it right down the middle of the glass. It was foaming up. I thought to myself, that seems stupid. That's not the right way to do it. But they're saying that you want to pour your beer in such a way that it releases some of the CO2 so that it doesn't happen in your stomach. And they did this cool experiment that we're going to recreate right now. We'll see how this goes. I've seen it done online and it works. Let's give it a shot. So I'm going to pour this first beer the old way. The way where I used to pride myself on not getting a lot of foam when I poured my beer, which really only comes down to a couple things. Tilting your glass, pouring down the side, and pouring it nice and slow so that you're getting, the least amount of bubbles possible. I would do this at kegs. People be like, how the hell did you do that? You can do it on a tap. Just pour it down the side, nice and slow. As you can see, not much foam at the top, not much head. Now they're saying the proper way to pour beer is to pour it more vigorously. You can start on the side, but then you kind of go and get it in the middle. You get it hot, you get it foaming up there a little bit. And you know what? I foamed the shit out of it, but it's okay because that foam will turn into beer. They're saying that the release of the CO2 like this is going to help you not feel bloated while you're drinking your beer. Also, this style of pouring is going to release more of the aromas of your beer. It's going to kind of activate it, open it up, release some of that stuff. My fear would be, I guess, that this is going to make it taste a little more flat. Maybe I like the bubbles. Okay. But I started doing this, and I'm starting to become a believer. In fact, I am a believer. I don't want to feel bloated when I'm drinking my beer. I want some of that CO2 released. I can almost guarantee you this one smells better than this one. Let's start with this one first. Woo! Those smell pretty good, though. Pineapple tropical. Yeah, this one is jumping out of the glass into my nose, and it smells like that, except just more intense. Sweeter too, a little bit. That fruitiness that this one has is there, but this one's also opening up into real nice and fruity, zippy, and a little bit of like cake or cake frosting. All right, let's pour a little bit more in here. Continue to get it nice and bubbly. Man, I did a hell of a job of pouring down the middle. Again, you can wait for your foam to dissipate. It's gonna turn into beer anyways. But what they've been doing online, what I'm not 100% sure is gonna work, is that they now take a piece of napkin. This one is supposed to bubble up like crazy when I stick it in there. This one should not. Here we go. They're saying this is what's happening inside your stomach as soon as you eat something, or just alone. at that, it worked. So that's the reaction. That's anytime, as soon as you put something in your stomach on top of that beer, it's gonna bloat up in your stomach. You should not get the same reaction. It has a bit of a reaction, if I'm being honest, but nothing near the reaction of this first one. So again, there is some truth to it. I've been hearing it over and over. I didn't really doubt that they were telling the truth, but I just never poured my beer like that and wasn't really quick to believe them. But I wanted to do this experiment. I would say that pretty much the proof is in it. So try it, experiment with it on your own. Pour it slow, pour it a little faster, get a little more head. See if it bloats your stomach or if you can tell a difference when you're pouring your beers. Let's taste it, see if there's a difference. Although we just foamed the shit out of this one anyway. I don't know if that's gonna make a difference because we foamed it out anyways. Beer's really good. Voodoo Ranger Juice Force IPA, Hazy Imperial IPA, 9.5% alcohol by volume. I think this is a new one from the New Belgium Voodoo Ranger line. Now, if you've watched the show at all, you know that I'm a sucker for the micro brewery and like these boutique wines and smaller produced wines. Your New Belgium, I don't know who bought it. They're bought out by a corporate somebody. But man, I like the Voodoo Ranger series. There's some really good beers there. So I'd give it a shot. Yeah, that beer is really good. Fruity and not overly hopped. All right, guys, for my last segment, pairs with. I went a little different direction last week, and I paired it with my drinks with Fred again, electronic music producer whose music I'm obsessed with right now. I did mention at that time ODESZA. If you're into electronic music, you may or may not have heard of ODESZA. They are huge. Two dudes, but when they go play live, they actually have live instrumentation, meaning that they have some guys playing the drum machines or some other live instruments as opposed to DJs just playing on the decks. Absolutely nothing against that. But when you see like Rufus Du Sol, check those guys out. ODESZA, they're doing some live instrumentation up on the stage. This is like chill, great electronic music. Again, even if you're not into electronic music, I would highly recommend checking out. This last album is called ODESZA, The Last Goodbye. It's incredible. This is electronic music done right by talented people who are including live instrumentation. ODESZA has several albums before this. They're all really, really good. The Last Goodbye, though, cover to cover, an absolutely wonderful electronic music ride. There's such emotion and feeling and vibes, if you know what I'm talking about. So check it out. Pair it with whatever you're drinking. ODESZA, The Last Goodbye. All right, my friends, thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Boozin' on a Budget on Titan TV. Tune in next week. I'm going to have a guest next week. His name is Al King. He's the show earlier tonight. He's doing the card breaking. He happens to be my roommate. He also happens to be a seltzer guy, which I am not. We've been very beer, wine, and whiskey focused, and I'd like to expand out, try some rum, some tequila, some other things like that. That stuff will be coming up. But Al is a seltzer guy, and so we're gonna have he's gonna come on with me. We're gonna taste some seltzer. We're gonna share our experiences with seltzer, and I'm gonna probably run him through a blind tasting of seltzer and have him pick his favorites. You don't wanna miss that. So tune in right here to Boozin' on a Budget next week on Titan TV. Have a good night, guys.